immovable.
Well, there's somebody
They
taught
all
me
like-
years ago,
Yeah.
it's actually easier to
Is
move
that
a
the new
cemetery
pickup?
than it is to displace a mascot.
new
I think
pickup?
so, yeah.
Wow.
I was thinking about that though. The way we're heading,
All right.
it's gonna have to change.
All right, I'm gonna call this meeting to order. We're gonna get started here. We can stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we can have a roll call.
Yoder,
Here.
Noonan, Black,
Here.
Hubble is absent with prior notice. Lautner,
Present.
Carlson,
Present?
Miller,
Here.
Nixon,
Here,
Todd, Griswold, Trumbull.
All right, perfect. We got a quorum. Next up, we got the consideration of the agenda. I will note, I'd like to add under new business, number 2, planning commission vacancy, just for some discussion, I guess, and update everybody on where that's at. On that, I have nothing else to add unless anybody else has any additions or subtractions.
Move to approve it with the one amendment?
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right, motion's been made by Commissioner Lauder, supported by Mr. Nixon, to approve the agenda as amended. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next up, conflict of interest. Do we have any members on the commission here that have a conflict with items on the agenda tonight? All right. None. Next up, we got public comment. Moving on from that. Next up, staff comments.
Well, Steve, if you didn't realize yet, the goodies and everything is a little celebration for you with your new marriage, and we're gonna pass that down to you.
Oh, geez, wow, okay. Well, thank you.
another bachelor bites the dust.
Yeah. So congratulations,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
and everybody make sure you eat a lot, because we still have more cupcakes back in the office, I
Oh,
don't
wow.
wanna take any more back.
More stuff there.
Couple of just quick updates for you. The mattress and tire recycling collection was held on Friday, and Jenny, our planning secretary, did a great job for us. We collected 135 mattresses, which we were full. So people had more to bring. And then I heard from people over the weekend, I didn't know you were doing mattress collection. So I've asked our contractor, it's Bay Area Recycling for Charities, if they would do it again, if we can do it again in the fall. And maybe we go higher than 4. What happened is some people thought that the box springs, they could bring them, but they didn't count. Well, they do count as if you were bringing a mattress, so you have to pay for those too. So it was very successful. The tires we think the number is about 1,200. So that's actually coming down a little bit, which is good. I'm not planning a second tire collection this year. We're getting them out of the county, which is great. At some point, I'm gonna add up and figure out the total. I know the last time I did it, we were like at 6,000, so, probably more like 8,000 now, so I'll add those up and have that ready. But I think we'll just do that once a year and see how that goes. And then, of course, on Saturday, there was household hazardous waste and electronics collection, and that went very well. We won't have any numbers from that yet. It'll probably be later this week or next week before any numbers come back. And staff is working on the EPA grant for, the county receives an EPA grant, and the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority will administer it on their behalf, so it's $250,000 for assessment of properties in the county. And I'm finishing up the final documents I have to get to EPA before the end of the week. So that will be going out. And I think that's it for right now.
Thank you for handling the internal household hazardous waste collection in-house. I appreciate it.
Oh, one more other thing. the recycling sites are extremely busy, very busy. So we've been making calls to the contractor, and they're always very receptive and telling us when they can get out to the site again, when they can get it picked up. And we're also continuing to work to line up additional people who will be what we call recycling ambassadors to help check those sites and keep them clean while, in between everything. And it's difficult because they can come and clean it up, and the ambassadors check it later in the day or the next day, and an hour later, there could be so much stuff there that, it's gotta be emptied again. So it's just a continuous process to keep watching those sites and keep them as clean as possible.
Good. Perfect. Any questions or comments from staff? All right. If not, we're up to our May 24th meeting minutes. Hopefully everybody had a chance to review them. If not, for anybody has any questions, if not, I guess I'll take a motion to approve, I guess.
I move we approve the May 24th meeting minutes as presented.
All right, motion been made by Mr. Nixon and supported by Mr. Miller to approve the May 24th meeting minutes as presented. Any further discussion? All right, if not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next up, under old business, we have CIP revision. I understand we don't necessarily have anything to talk about that further. I know we talked about it last month here. Kind of went through it. I guess, did you want to kind of carry the bag on that, or do you want to just hear from everybody here as to kind of what they're looking for, or how did you want to?
Yeah, if I could just have a little more direction from me and Gail as we go through the documents again. My understanding from looking at the minutes from last month is that you wanted more information on each of the projects. And in the meantime, what I did is I pulled up through a mapping group. They have a poster contest every year, and I happened to click on one of them as I was going through them, and it was a CIP, but it's all digital and it's interactive. And I thought, well, this is pretty cool. So I started clicking on it, and so it's a county one, and the projects are listed like on the side, and you click on it, and it shows you where in the county it's going to be on the parcel, and it gives you, a little description and the amount, when it's going to start, when it's going to end. And I thought, now that's pretty slick, because that could be something that citizens can look at too, instead of reading a document. And we could even put on there where past projects have been completed. So I thought that was pretty interesting. It's going to take a little bit of work. I talked with Equalization with their mapping, and they said, yeah, I think we can do this. We just need to have it all entered per parcel number, property tax number, so we can identify it. So that's something down the road that would be pretty neat, I think, if we could do. So right now, I think I was just looking for, what can you tell us a little bit more about what you're looking for on these projects?
Perfect. You want to go down the line here and just kind of get comments? I don't know, do you have anything to add, Mr. Miller, or?
Well, as I remember, there was abbreviations or acronyms used, and in some cases, it's like, what is that? And there was one on HVAC, which I certainly know what HVAC is. It was talking about railings, and I can assume that I know what it might be for, but an explanation of why we're adding railings. Is it life safety? Is it just convenience? That kind of thing.
Aesthetics.
Okay.
Rather than reading and assuming it's one thing or the other.
All right, Commissioner Lautner?
I really would have nothing to add other than I'd like to see what you're talking about. I think a new format could be really helpful.
I'll send out a link to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
All right, Mr. Nixon?
I think the new format you had, it's obvious you were trying to condense. But I too would share what Mr. Miller said, that I think a little more description would have been helpful and left me guessing some of the things, the uncertainty, and maybe there just was a little too brief.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Black? No, Ms. Carlson?
That's what Tom said.
All right. No, it's pretty much the same thing I was gonna say. When we reviewed them last month, multiple individuals here were just like, well, I don't even know what this is, where does it apply, type of thing. So I know in the past, when we reviewed them, we always had a document that kind of went with it, although that was always extensive. I think even just a shorter version of that, to an extent, would help, the members here kind of get an idea of what the project entails and where it'll be and different things like that, I think would help, so. Yeah, on that's, I think, the main comments I have.
Okay, that's very helpful, thank you.
Any other questions on that? All right. Next up, we have under new business, we got the Centerville Township Text Amendment / microbreweries. You have staff, go over the staff report, and I'll move on to that.
Okay, I think this amendment actually is fairly straightforward. Their township master plan for Centerville Township does not specifically address this. They do mention agricultural support goal in one of their chapters, chapter 7 on community goals and objectives. The county's general plan does not address this. And the township at their public hearing on June 6th, the member of the public suggested adding ale and stout to the list of the things that they would accept in this amendment. So following that public hearing, they passed a motion to send this document on to us. We didn't see any problems with the text being compatible with other sections of the zoning ordinance, no issues of greater than local concern and so forth. So on page 8 of your agenda packet, we gave a little history. There was a gentleman who came forward and wanted to, or did request from the township that they consider an amendment to allow a microbrewery and a beer tasting room at their vineyard, which is called French Valley Vineyard. And the minutes from the meeting indicate that there was discussion on specific language that they could incorporate. And then the main concerns were continuing to assure that any operations they do are tied to local agriculture and kept small. So then they worked on a proposed amendment, which is an amendment to Article 9, the agricultural district. And that is what is included in your packet here. So we spelled out under staff comments what this is for. They had minutes from the May 2nd meeting as well, that they had discussion about beer tasting rooms and whether the township should have standalone microbreweries versus allowing a winery and a brewery combination. And so they proceeded on with the amendments. They set up that public hearing on June 6th, and then they sent the stuff into us for review. The only other thing that we added to this, because we didn't find anything really that stuck out on this amendment, but I did add in here that there was an opinion on the Old Mission Peninsula Association versus Peninsula Township case, and you might have seen it in the Record Eagle. It's kind of been all over the place now. And the case was heard in the United States District Court, and the plaintiffs were challenging all those regulations in Peninsula Township. So you have to actually go through that opinion and see all the different things that they were challenging, because they were challenging quite a bit. Things like whether or not, they couldn't allow weddings and receptions and certain floor space and things like that. So part of what they requested was granted and part was denied. I sent it out to all the townships so that they know about it, and Centerville Township just happened to be sending this in about the same time. So I checked with their chairman, and they said that they looked it over and they reviewed it, but they felt that they were okay with their ordinance requirements. And if they need to change anything in the future, they would readdress it. But they felt comfortable with where it's at, and they feel that the court case is gonna get challenged anyway, and that could be years down the road before there's another answer. So they wanted to move forward with these proposed changes. And that was it for our comments.
All right. All right, we'll move on to member comments here. Ms. Carlson, you have anything or any comments to add?
I don't.
No? All right, Mr. Black?
Nothing.
None? Mr. Nixon?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
All right, Commissioner Felton?
Yeah, I think it is too. The only thing I really noticed, and I don't really know if it makes a difference or not, but in 4, under new language is highlighted in section 9.6. Down at number 4, a portion of the production of facility shall be derived from the fruit grown by the producer. but up above they took fruit out. So I didn't know why they left fruit in here other than the majority is going to be fruit, but beer isn't necessarily and mead isn't necessarily. So I didn't know if, does that make sense?
Probably agricultural products keeping it consistent
Yeah.
would be easier.
Yeah, products or the fuel, whatever.
I see what you're saying. So in the first sentence of 4, they left fruit in there, and then in the second sentence, they took it out.
They took it out.
As well, took it out of
Fruit
above.
one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
is it, I don't know if they don't have another word to slip in there. Would it be product grown by producer or, I don't know. Or maybe they intend to leave it. That would be the only thing. Yeah, that's, it's,
Mr. Miller?
Okay, I've got a couple things, and maybe it's my confusion. I read A, and it talks about the agriculture production intended for use in wine, cider, mead, or beer. And we're talking about the fact that they could be making wine, cider, and beer, say, at the same place. So do they have to have the agricultural product for all of those? Or one of those and the others could be from other sources? I'm just, it's a question in my mind is whether it's all of them or one of them, and then they could just produce all of them, but what do they need to do? And then I'll be honest with you and say B totally confused me. Actually, yeah, B totally confused me. In that at least 4 acres with the additional 10 acres of land contiguous. I understand what contiguous is, but contiguous and owned by the same individual, in which case, why is it not 14 acres, period? And if it's owned by someone else, that's fine, but does the product have to be from somewhere in those 14 acres? It just confused me as to what the intent was. And then when we go down to 4, again, the same question about fruit, but used in the wine, cider, mead, or beer grown on premise to 5,000 gallons produced. I don't understand 5,000 gallons produced, what that means. Is it for each product up to 5,000 gallons or 5,000 gallons combined, and I'm not clear on it. And then 6, bonded structures may occur no more, may occupy no more than 20,000 square feet above ground. So are we saying that they could have a 2-story building with 10,000 each, or the total building area above ground is capped at 20? Or is it 20 and 20? I'm just not sure. And then 7, they got wine-related paraphernalia, but I think it probably wants to be product-related, because if you're selling growlers, the empty growler, that's for beer. If you're, or for mead or whatever,
They did cross out the word wine, though. They're deleting that.
but in related paraphernalia.
Right.
So they gotta put in something in place of the line that they crossed out. Because without the word and related paraphernalia, to what?
It's just to the products produced.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, maybe the
Yeah.
word product has to be, and then, but not limited to, I'm not sure why they're saying, but not limited to corkscrews, glasses, and tableware, because it could be clothing, or, the hats, t-shirts and stuff. And then on the other page, the next page. C, 9C. Outside activities must commence after 30 minutes before sunrise. I don't think that's meant. It's not must, it may commence no earlier than 30 minutes before sunrise. Would make sense, but must commence after 30 minutes before sunrise is confusing. And sunrise is at 5 o'clock, so it must commence at 5:30 in the morning. I think that's not what they meant. And then D, I'm not sure, with the exception of appetizing snacks, and then they say, or products regularly produced on the premises. Food provided for the activity must be prepared off-site. So it's like, I think what they meant was, I don't know what they meant. It's confusing me. What does that mean? With the exception of appetizing snacks or products regularly produced on the premises, everything else has to be prepared off-site. I assume they don't want to get big food production kitchen going on, but somehow that needs to be reworded to be enforceable. And I think that part probably enough. Sorry.
Well, and your whole point about enforcement is well taken too, because who's going to enforce this? I guess the zoning administrator, perhaps?
Yeah.
And good catch, because I had just read that, no more, start no more than 30 minutes before sunrise and finish 30 minutes after sunset.
But that's not what it says.
And, right, so that was a good catch, yeah, I just read it too fast, I'm sure. Now, may I
Yep,
ask,
yep.
do you suppose the what's the word I'm looking for now? Paraphernalia, I guess that's what they call it. Is that what Old Mission lost on, like the T-shirts and the hats and the bags and?
I'm not
flip-flops?
sure, they lost on a lot of different categories of what they had in there with their restrictions. The opinion page was, the opinion was pretty long, so I was trying to get through that, and you have to be an attorney to
Yeah.
interpret all that. I think reading the Record Eagle article and some of the other articles was easier to understand.
I'm just wondering, because that's kind of what I took away from our Right to Farm Act presentation was if they're making it for their product, they can sell it, but a T-shirt, they're not making that out of wine leaves, so they probably can't sell a T-shirt under that act.
But under the act, if it was a certain percentage, it'd be okay.
Oh, okay, maybe it was, a certain percentage was okay?
And I don't recall what the percentage was, but it had a percentile in it.
Okay.
Yeah, one of them was the sale of local merchandise. I'd have to look back on that and see if they lost on that one.
Okay.
Well, if you put that in the book, you wouldn't want to read it that way. It reads very poorly. I agree with what you said. It needs to be reworded so it flows a little bit. You don't say 30 minutes before, put after and before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll look at that then.
Yeah, no, I read it over too, and I didn't catch a lot of that stuff, but I think you caught a lot of great things there, so I'm sure a lot of that'll be passed on to the planning commission and the board once we forward it on, but any other comments or questions for staff, or questions about the document to put in the minutes, or? All right. I guess we'll move on to forward this on to Centerville Township.
So moved. Forward comments on to
All right,
Centerville?
motion been made, is there support?
Support.
All right, motion been made by Commissioner Launer to forward staff and commission comments for the microbreweries text amendment on Centerville Township. supported by Mr. Nixon. Any further discussion? All right, if not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right.
Can I just make an
Yep.
an opinion perhaps? I'm finding, and I've shared this with a lot of people, that what we're seeing in Leelanau County is anti-growth, which we've always seen, but the growth that they do want to allow, as long as it's ag-related, that's okay. So I find that very interesting. Because I look at Farm Club, and it's right out there in the middle of nowhere, nowhere around their business or their commercial area for that township, and it wasn't even a farm to begin with. They just set this restaurant there and are buying these vegetables that are coming in from off-site, and it's just kind of like, oh, but, if it were called probably anything else other than Farm Club, it probably never would have got through, but because it's Farm Club, it made it in, and probably a great tax source for the township. It's very popular, it's always busy. So, anyway, that's just my observation with what we're seeing.
All right. Next up, under new business, item 2, we have PC vacancies. Part of the reason I wanted to put this on, we had 2 members on this committee that resigned. Was Nate Griswold and Kim Todd. So those are 2 vacancies that we're gonna have to forward on to the county board to get that replaced, I guess. So talking with Trudy, I understand we have a couple people that had submitted applications and filled out the form, and they'd be interested to be on here. From my understanding, they already served on other committees with their commissions within the county. So it might be wise if we could, as a body, maybe recommend the county board to put an ad in the paper that we're looking for individuals to fill these vacancies or whatever, being the fact that we already have those individuals that already sit on other bodies or whatever. So, Commissioner Louder.
Yes, I would make a motion that we ask the County Board of Commissioners to advertise for these open positions.
All right.
I was going to try to put a timeline in there, but I won't. Just let's advertise for the positions.
I'd support that, but I might also like to ask the question or add the comment that each of these people represent a certain specific area too.
Yep.
And I think if we advertise, we probably ought to add some clarity.
Okay.
Right.
That indicates what the preference is. I don't know that it's a mandate, but it's a preference.
Yep.
It's in the county ordinance that was developed by this body and approved by the county board in those categories. You have to select categories according to the statute, so we do need to keep to that.
And what are those categories that are open?
One is business and the other is transportation.
What are those?
And one, let's see, one expires, actually, both of those expire the end of 2023, so it would be a partial term for someone coming in.
What 2 resign? I mean,
Nathan Griswold and Kim Todd.
Tim Todd.
Oh, it's disappointing, but I understand.
Yeah, my understanding is just conflicts and just, summer's busy and just they haven't been able to make a lot of meetings, so they just felt it best, and yeah, I thanked them, but I understood that they need to resign. It gives us a better chance to get a quorum to going forward and stuff, so. But yeah. All right, the motion has been made. Commissioner Louder, supported by Mr. Nixon. Is there any further discussion? All right, if not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question
Yes.
related to that? The quorum pending those 2 positions being filled is based on those people that are on the board or those people that should be on the board?
It's in your bylaws.
I know, that's what
There's
I'm
a lot
saying.
of-
Yeah.
I think staff is better
See, and
prone to answer that one than I am.
higher board, correct? Appointed and serving?
I believe it's of the ones appointed. So when someone resigns, my understanding that changes. But we might have to get that clarified.
Quorum of the
Six
members
right
that
now.
exist at that time.
because it's a-
Quorum is a majority of the appointed members of the commission present at a regular or special meeting. That constitutes a quorum. So they were appointed, but now they've resigned. So that brings us down to 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we have to get 5 as quorum, or are we still at 6?
You might get an opinion on that quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
And actually, I think we did that with the Brownfield Authority, so I could look back on what the attorney
We might
said,
have
same
it.
attorney, so.
Yep.
I think we might have that answered already. I'll look that up.
I'm not trying to cause trouble. I'm trying
No,
to
it's a good question, yeah.
No, that's a valid question, so try to get an answer to that. All right, moving on to reports, Housing Action Committee, Commissioner Lautner.
Housing Action Committee met a couple of weeks ago. Once again, I did not think to bring my minutes, but the project, the Habitat for Humanity project in Maple City had just finally received their EPA approval for their Eagle approval for their septic drain field.
And they started foundations.
And they started
They
foundations?
started excavating for the foundations.
Okay, I know it's been slow. And they are fundraising for those houses because the gap now is, what is the gap?
About 165,000 a unit.
A unit gap now for what it's going to cost them to build these and what they expected. And so they're fundraising. They went to Casson Township to ask them if they would approve a TIF, tax increment financing plan. And Casson took no action that night. They're going to think about it for a month before they decide whether they will go for 30-year,
Yes.
a 30-year tax increment financing on that project, which would help Habitat with around $350,000 worth of.
Yeah, they won't get all of the gap back, but they'll get about half of it back, which can be used for future projects, and it helps them with their financing on this site.
I know we talked about that, and another foundation, what is Larry calling his?
Peninsula Housing.
Peninsula Housing received their 501c3, and so I guess they will be moving forward, hopefully to help with, their hope is to help with sustainable or affordable housing in the county some way or somehow. And I can't think of anything else.
The Merrick Road property.
What was the report on
Homestretch.
Merrick Road?
They are about 160,000 short of their fundraising goal. They have everything else lined up, but they really need to hit that to get those apartments in Sutton's Bay. I'm not sure what happens with other funding, because usually these things have timelines on them, and you gotta have commitments. So I'm not sure where Homestretch is in that, but everyone is hoping they can pull that off. Apartments, long-term, year-round apartment leases are really needed. They're just non-existent.
Melinda, down in Bugай and 72 back there, what is exactly going in there?
Well, on the southwest corner
Yeah.
in Long Lake Township.
That's Long Lake.
Okay,
I'm
that's a
talking the other
lot.
side.
Okay, so on the northwest corner, it's, Habitat for Humanity has a project planned for there also. But I'm not sure what their start time will be there because,
It's farther north, though.
Yeah, it's just a
New Wave
quarter
Church.
mile north of the
Yeah.
72.
Okay, I think that's what he's talking.
oh, New Wave is a
Wave
mile
Church.
north of?
Yeah, it's
the
not right on
corner?
that corner, it's farther north on the
It's about a
west
quarter
side.
mile north of 72.
Isn't
Yeah.
that going to be housing there on the corner
just
too?
small housing units going in there,
Oh, is there?
yeah.
But now I'm not sure who's doing those. but it's
Yeah,
housing
I
of
think it's a
some,
private entity of some sort, it's just.
And
Okay.
then the
That's
new
it,
housing in Cedar is gonna double the size of that little village, isn't it?
yeah, pretty darn close. If not, yeah. Yeah, that's moving right along too. That's not necessarily affordable,
Yeah, it's gonna be expensive.
but it'll be housing that's, if you can afford it, you can move in there.
It's gonna be interesting.
All right, any other questions for Commissioner Lautner?
Thanks for the help, Trudy.
Yeah.
I can never.
All right, next up, we have Parks and Recreation. I see Mr. Noonan isn't here. Is there anybody else that sits on this? Go ahead.
I guess, yeah, we got a lot of little irons in the fire, a lot kind of going on. We just had Kids Fish Day Sunday, and it was an overwhelming success. We all figure it was the biggest crowd ever for our Kids Fish Day. It was just a beautiful day. Everybody was happy. They got their free hot dog and chips and pop and could look at frogs and paint. It was really just super event. So we're really happy with that. We bought the playground set last summer that's going to go in the old Settlers Park, the big jungle gym unit, and that is supposed to be built on site somewhere around July 5th. So we just have other things going on. We've been asked to sell the vacant field across the road from the Miles Kimmerly Park, where there's horses and the old barn, and right in between there. I think it's a 10-acre piece that the Cedar Area Fire Department, or namely Centerville and Casson Township, would like to purchase for a future fire barn there. But the Parks and Rec has not made a recommendation to the full Board of Commissioners on that yet. We had a resignation on our Parks and Rec board, so it'll probably go into July. I think July 16th or 19th, we might be meeting to discuss that. Yeah, been working on trails in the Miles Kimmerly Park. So we're moving along.
All right. Any questions for Commissioner Lauder? All right. Not, we're on to reports from members on here that were at any meetings that they want to give updates on. Mrs. Carlson? All right, Mr. Black?
Didn't attend any.
All right, Mr. Nixon?
Our township's trying to adjust to a new supervisor.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. How's supervisor going?
I heard it's a little rough.
That's a challenge, yeah. That's a challenge, but we, if anything, it's interesting, we just installed security in our building, by way of cameras, to match the requirement of the state law to have some visibility of after-hour ballots. And, we're quite pleased with the installation and the party who put those in. We're dealing also with a community interest in having a dog park at Herman Community Park, which is a multi-use park. We kind of refer to it as the county's east side park, because so many people enjoy that park that come from all over our area. And so the board has been asked to consider the installation of a dog park within that park. And so it's, that decision is yet to be made.
Awesome. Commissioner Lauder?
No, I guess nothing at this time.
All right, Mr. Miller?
Nothing to report.
All right, nothing on my end. I've been kind of on a hiatus for the last month, so it's back to reality for me, so I'm sure I'll have something next month, so. All right, next up, communications.
We did get one notice of planning from the city of Traverse City on their master plan, so they're gonna begin that process. That's something I've noticed that we've seen from quite a few communities, they're working on their master plans. So I don't know if we'll get many of them before the end of the year, but definitely into next year, I think we're gonna be reviewing master plans. They did include on the back who they sent it to, which you've gotta keep track of who you mailed all these notices to. And I was just kind of glancing, and I saw my name and I get notified, but I sent an email back to them saying, you need to contact Elmwood Township, because otherwise they missed them.
Yeah.
So,
Since they have the annexed area.
Yeah.
in the-
yeah, so they need to send something out to them. I didn't hear anything back, but at least we let them know on that.
Sure. All right, next up, we got public comment. You can just state your name and where you're from.
Sure, so, apologize for my attire, I rushed out here, my name is Julie Dick. I live in Miami year-round, but my address here is 1501 Centerville in Suns Bay. I'm here tonight for a couple of reasons. When I practiced land use and environmental law in Florida, I worked a lot in growth management in Miami and the Florida Keys, where there are a lot of affordable housing issues, and frankly, in the Florida Keys, there's a lot of focus on conservation and trying to maintain the character of that area through growth, but also a prosperous economy. And I was very happy to hear about some of the efforts on housing here, but I found it frustrating just over the last several years coming up here. I mean, frankly, 20 years ago, talking to the Millicans or whatever else about this area and growth. It seems to me there's a lot of opportunity for policies to be put in place. One, to incentivize both maintaining the character and a lot of the forest land that makes this area so special. But also on affordability, and it's really workforce housing, and it's talked about as affordable housing, but this area is advertising all over the country for people to come here in the summers, and restaurants can't stay open 7 days a week because they can't find people to work. And I just think there's probably some good opportunities to increase incentives for developers to build affordable housing and make that more integrated into the development process. And trust funds are added, bonuses, and neighbor density or whatever else. I think there are a lot of ways to do that. And frankly, I don't know everything that's been done here, but would just like to, I'm here to just encourage you to further look at those kind of things, and as well as policies to look at how development is taking place and how I would hate to see this area become like the suburbs of Detroit. It is special because it is so natural and because of the what is here in the natural system. So I think there's room for growth and economic development, but if people can't afford to live here to be able to support the service economy, and it makes it very difficult. And if the growth's unbridled, then we really do lose what makes Leelanau County special. So, and through the master plans and everything else, there's so much opportunity to put policies in place through planning and zoning and land use mechanisms to do that. So, just wanted to make that comment. And then additionally, the Leelanau Trail, I heard you mention trails, and this just occurred to me, but I would love to see that connected up to Centerville. Stops at Dumont's. There would be an opportunity to connect it. That is all. Thank you so much for hearing me tonight.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for
Thank you for
coming.
your service.
Thanks for your comments, appreciate it.
We have plenty of goodies if you want anything.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have staff comments.
Couple of quick things for you. I sent out the, I guess, 3 pages summary from our APA conference that Gail and I put together, and tried to give you just some snapshots, some screenshots from some of the sessions that we attended, which we thought were pretty cool. And of course, highlighted the keynote speaker because I just found him fascinating and the things they're doing with hip hop architecture. It was amazing to find that they were using hip hop with these mainly underprivileged families and kids to develop things that they use in architecture and design for furniture and clothing and so forth. So it was really pretty cool. And if you are interested, I send this out to the Housing Action Committee, so I know Melinda got it, and Steve got it too. I watched a video today. It's actually a woman that contacted me to talk about some housing stuff and what she's been working on, and she gave me a link and then told me to go to the bottom and just look at this film that's called Motown to Growtown. So it's about Detroit, and it's about 24 minutes long. When I first clicked on it and got into it, it's Al Jazeera video site. I thought, Am I in the right? Trying to watch a video, but you have to kind of get through a few ads, and I was like, oh yeah, this is it. And it was very interesting. It's humorous in some parts and what they're trying to do, and it's kind of eye opener for me of hearing the statistics of how many people have left and how many vacant lots and buildings that they have. It's really incredible. They're trying to rebuild their neighborhoods. So once thriving city of Detroit has lost so many people and now has this land, and they're trying to do things with it, and the government doesn't want them doing things with these vacant lots, but yet nobody's taking care of them. So if you want that link, I will share it with you. I thought it's just interesting to watch this. Not that necessarily it's going to apply to us, but it's an interesting video. I'll email that out. Gail, did you have anything?
Any questions for staff? All right, not, we're on to commissioner comments. Mr. Miller? Nothing. Mr. Louder?
Yeah, nothing further.
All right, Mr. Nixon?
Nothing?
Mr. Black?
I would comment on what Trudy just said. I was in Detroit quite a bit, and the new mayor was a write-in candidate who was elected, and Mayor Dugan has done amazing jobs with the city of Detroit. It is turning the corner. There's developing some pride in the people. He gave them, when he was elected, he said he was going to do 5 things, and he's done 4 of the 5, and he's working on number 5. First, he had to light up the city. They had most of their streetlights out, and crime was going up and up and up. He was putting in 1,500 lights a week until they lit the city back up, and crime went down along with it. He said he was gonna double the number of bus routes because people were complaining how long it took them to get to work. He said he was gonna double the number of firemen and police officers. He did that. And because he's doing those things, there is some pride starting to take place in the people of Detroit. I stayed down there for a few times, and the people are talking about the changes that are happening in Detroit. So I think we're going to see Detroit turn the corner and go the other way. And it's been going in the last 3 to 4 years, so it's kind of nice to hear about it.
Good. Mr. Dawson?
Nothing but congratulations for you.
Yeah, super.
Thank you. No, I was appreciate the card, and yeah, didn't know anybody paid attention to that, so I guess people do. So
It was pretty
No,
big
it's,
news. You know.
it's been a good month for me. So so other than that, I appreciate everybody coming out. I think we're gonna adjourn this thing in a record time. So with that, meeting adjourned.
Super.
Well, here, refreshments.
Come down to the keys.
Grab a cupcake and hit the road. I got another meeting, so
You do have another one?
Solar
Talking about
Parks.
housing.
And then Solar Parks.
Every time I
think
go
need
to the
see.
keys, wife and I